What's up? It's lunchtime with Josh the Plumber, and here's what we're talking about today. Alright, so today I asked one of our apprentices, Danny, said, what do you want to learn? And he said, well, I want to learn everything. And I said, well, that's great, but let's slow down a little bit. Let's start with something that's a little bit more simple. He said, well, whenever we walk into a house, you guys just seem to know the answer and have a solution so much quicker than me. So how can I learn that? I said, all right, well, there's a lot of things that go into that, but let's take it step by step with each different type of call. So this is going to be kind of a series that I'm going to create over the next few months, hopefully, and maybe this will help people out, including Danny. So let's take a gas water heater, for example. When you get a call, say it says no hot water, right? So the first thing you want to do when you go into the call, obviously, go through the introduction process, say, my name is Josh, yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the point. So we are at the water heater now. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm listening most likely to the customer's story on what they have said has happened. So at this point, I'm basically doing a visual inspection. Do I see any leaks? Do I see any corrosion? Do I see rusting? Do I see any specific, blatant signs of failure right off the get-go? And if I do, those are things that I might mention to the customer. If I don't, okay, then we'll start diving a little bit deeper. Now that the customer has probably told you the entire spiel of the water heater's history, you can kind of take a lot of that information with a grain of salt because some of it may or may not be completely accurate. But because you're the professional, you're going to figure out exactly what's going on and give them solutions, whether it's repair options or replacement options. So on all natural draft tank style gas water heaters, I'm going to get my meter out. I'm going to go ahead and test the thermocouple or thermopile, depending on what type of unit you have. You want to make sure that it's getting the correct millivolt voltages that are being sent to the gas valve and allowing the gas valve to open and let that gas flow freely to the burn chamber. For thermocouples, we're looking for a number over 25 millivolts, and for thermopiles, we're looking for a number between 500 and 750 millivolts. The higher, the better. Now let's say your thermocouple or thermopile does not get to those numbers. Then you have a bad thermocouple or thermopile, which will need to be replaced. In that sense, then you can look at the serial number, model number, most likely call your local supply house, get a replacement part for that, and give them the option to repair it. Now let's say your thermocouple or thermopile is reaching tolerance where it should be, but whenever you put it back together and it's not holding the flame still, then what? Well, typically if it's not holding the flame and we know that the thermocouple or thermopile is working properly, then we know that we have a gas valve issue, which in that case that'll need to be replaced. Which again, you can look at the model number and serial number, call your local supply house and get that one taken care of as well. And then of course, if you do see any leaking coming from maybe the TMP or the dielectric unions or the drain valve or anything like that, that could be another conversation that you might want to have with your customer, whether a repair option is worth it at this point or a replacement option might be better suited for long-term use. If the water heater is more than 6 years old, most likely the tank is no longer warranted. There are some tanks out there that have 9 and 12-year warranties, but most of the ones that you're going to find are 6-year warranties on parts. So if it is older than 6 years, that's always a good conversation to have with your customer that, hey, a replacement option is always something that you can do as well. Now let's say the thermocouple and thermopile are working properly, along with the gas valve and everything is working properly, but it's not drafting correctly. Well, you can get your draft gauge test out and test the draft to make sure that you have proper draft going through the flue. If you don't, then you might have something clogged in the actual flue. You might have to clean that out. Possibly you might have to investigate that with a camera even. Problems with the flue like that are pretty rare, so it's not going to happen super often, but you do need to be aware that that is a possibility of giving you some troubles. And the problem of carbon monoxide spilling out into the house can be extremely dangerous. Once you have checked the thermocouple, thermopile, gas valve, and the flue venting, you should be in a pretty good place to give your customers some options for repairs or replacement options, or possibly even upgraded tank or tankless water heaters. Hopefully this will help you guys out a little bit on getting started into diagnosing gas water heaters. If you guys have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. And what do you think? Do you guys do it a little bit different than me, or is that good enough?